if you're parented well, you can see it from a mile away. And when you're not, you can see it from a mile away. And I think too many parents view their kids as a product. We need to do a much better job, 0 to 18, to understand somebody's makeup, their emotional makeup, their skill set. The way we do school today and the way we structure our kids for success in the first 18 years is so broken worldwide. For a lot of parents, their kid is a representation of them. And that's where it breaks. It breaks if a parent thinks that a kid's accomplishment is a reflection on them, because now you have a disconnect. Now you're not a parent and a child, you're a person with a product. And I think that that is scary to me. True. Because going to Harvard or Stanford or Yale is a badge that people back in Beijing walk around proudly to their contemporaries, and they're fucking their kids up. If you look at America as a proxy, when the middle class started to emerge, it was also when university and college was starting to build as a brand, and it worked for a period of time that was fine, but the problem is technology is too much of a variable. If you want your kids to be successful, recognize that the world you live in today has nothing to do with the world they're gonna live in.
That's so true.
I had parents who had those same pressures, who came from those same places, who refused to treat me that way, and that's why I'm gonna be special. I want that for the quadrillions of kids around the world, because they deserve it. The fact that 99 out of 100 parents back in Chinese New Year put unneeded pressure on their kids, which ultimately is going to hurt their children and hurt their relationship with their children, needs to start being eradicated.
One thing is happening in China that is an optimism. It's a very optimistic point of view. Is the government is now encouraging graduates to take entrepreneurship as their first job.
I think it's great that it's pushing kids to entrepreneurship. My problem is 9 out of 10 of these Chinese kids that are 22 years old that are jumping into entrepreneurship have no chance because they're not entrepreneurs.
Yes, but it's good because it's education.
Yes, but you have to be careful, because the one thing I fear is when these kids fail, and almost all of them will, it's a very big scarlet letter in that culture. And I think psychologically, you're putting a 23-year-old in a very vulnerable spot where now they have a loss publicly. There's no hiding. When you lose in school like I did, you can blame people. When Iris loses at VaynerMedia, she can blame me. When you work at a company, or when the government's involved, or when it's school, you can blame somebody else. When you have a business, it's your fault. So I would caution one thing for anybody who's listening, who thinks entrepreneurship is such a freedom. When you lose, you have to make sure that you're mentally stable enough to be able to take all that cynicism and the critiques from everybody, including your friends' parents, your parents, because if you don't, you start going down a very dangerous path that leads to a very scary place. We do not reconcile why we have suicide in America at the teenage level. It's because modern parenting is over-coddling kids to an extreme level where kids don't know how to deal with adversity. I think self-awareness matters much more than being an entrepreneur. For you and I, the learning makes sense. It's our DNA. I look at every loss as learning. That is not how people are wired. We need to do a much better job, 0 to 18, to understand somebody's makeup.
To go deeper, there are a lot of new families that they just newly became the middle class. So
yes.
The middle class is booming. So they're afraid that they're gonna lose because they just got there. The only way that they can think of to maintain this status is to invest in their kids' education or push a little bit harder to make sure their kids can carry on the status.
I get it.
So that's one
They're
pressure.
Wrong.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
They're gonna lose. What they don't understand is how quickly the world is evolving, and how we're all more connected than ever, and we're all looking at each other's cultures. I think the greatest thing that is ever gonna happen to America is China's emergence. So I think kids that are gonna be born 10 years from now are gonna be winners in America 40 years from now because of the chip on their shoulder of losing that world stage leadership.
So what should parents invest in their kids? Like what aspect?
One thing I would tell parents is do a lot more listening. And don't listen to your fucking friends. And listen to your kids. And when I say listening, watch them. What do they gravitate towards? Nobody thought playing video games 20 years ago was going to lead to a luxurious financial life. It clearly has.